All right, I feel good. We're talking about the Seahawks. It just feels like home, sort of.
Still a feel-good story?
Yeah, of course it is.
Okay.
We're talking about Matt Flynn on yesterday's show in particular, and on today's show also, about he becomes, in a way, the most compelling off-season personality, at least the first one they've got to deal with. We've talked about how, there aren't, when you're 11-5, you're a very young team. You don't have a ton of pressing issues. I mean, there can be some. We'd like to see a better pass rush and stuff like that.
Right,
You got to think of the guys you're going to take out. But, boy, your running game's great. Your passing game is great. Maybe you want another big-time wide receiver. Your lines seem good. So it's not really about a lot of frontline guys. In the case of Flynn, we're talking about a backup quarterback who's drawing a lot of attention, I think, because of why they brought him in the first place.
Right, and the debate becomes, does he have value, more value elsewhere? Can he, instead of sitting behind Russell Wilson, he's not going to be a starter unless Russell gets hurt. Can you get something for him? Can you work that Seahawks magic and take a low-round draft pick and turn into another Richard Sherman, another fifth rounder, or something like that? And there's been a debate nationally. You got Adam Schefter talking about it, and I think Mike and Mike were talking about what his value is out there. And there's a debate just like between you and I. Some believe that he may get cut by the Seahawks. Others believe he's going to warrant a draft pick in return. I'm still of the belief that he is not cost prohibitive. There are enough teams out there that need a quarterback, and he's cheap. Even if he doesn't work out, he doesn't set your franchise back. You're not committing to a Michael Vick dollar amount where, boy, we take this on, it doesn't work out, we're screwed. I think it works for any team, whether it's the Chiefs, whether it's the Eagles, whether it's the Jaguars, whether it's any of these teams you look at, the Cardinals, that don't have an answer at quarterback. I think he's a very affordable risk.
Well, I mean, if the contract he has now, if he just picks that up, it's what, $5-7 million total this year or something like that. I think everyone knows that that's the value. I just don't think that, regardless of whether you can, the issue is not whether you can afford it or not. The Seahawks can afford to keep him as a backup at $5.3 million, whatever that number is, as long as they want. The question is, do you want to have 90% of your quarterback money going to a guy who doesn't pay? Now, I think the whole Russell Wilson thing was obviously blown out of proportion. He's not asking for a new contract. He's not going to get a new contract. That's not going to happen. But there are always egos involved in things like that. And frankly, you want your money playing. You don't want your money sitting on the bench. I know one of Schefter's points, which I kind of disagree with, was he was saying, hey, last year you had two teams that were interested. I mean, that was really it. You had Miami and his old offensive coordinator didn't want him, and the Seahawks. And, it's a different year now, so you can't really compare last year to this year. You've got some more teams that are interested, but my sense is those teams are going to expect the Seahawks to make a move. And even though we like Matt Flynn and we like what he's seen of him, he's still someone who, now he's taken $10 million, still hasn't played, still didn't win the job. We love Russell Wilson and everything like that. I just don't know if you look at him as a starting quarterback somewhere else.
I think he could start in any of those cities. And, listen, until he starts, we won't know for sure how good he can be. Right. I mean, we've seen just brief glimpses when he was in Green Bay. We saw him in the preseason here, and he played very well. I think that's the point that gets lost in the national conversation, as if he's somehow less than, or he's not going to be any good. We don't know. Every time he stepped on the field, he's played well. That's the fact. Now, whether you think he can be that 16 games a year for a team somewhere, that remains to be seen until he gets that shot. But I just think he's a very low risk in terms of contract length, in terms of money committed. For any team, there are too many teams out there that don't have an answer at quarterback. He has a value, in my opinion. And if they're not going to get anything for him, I don't know why they would be in a hurry to cut him, because of what you said about Russell Wilson. Everybody knows you can't negotiate a new deal until you're 3 years into your rookie deal with a year remaining. There's nothing that can be done, even if the Seahawks wanted to today. So the idea that somehow that's going to be a sore spot with Russell Wilson, or it's going to be a point of conflict, I don't buy it. We all know Russell Wilson's personality. I think he understands the situation, and I think he's fine with it. He knows what's coming. He knows what's coming as far as his payday.
But I think we both believe Matt Flynn's probably going to be elsewhere, though, don't we?
Yeah.
Even after all of that. Good luck, Matt.